All right, Indiana. Let's get on to Indiana because I think they're the most intriguing team of the three that we've talked about because you just don't know yet. Like you have a pretty good idea of Purdue.
Mike Woodson taught more at shoot around yesterday than I've ever seen him in his third year here. So I've been going to his games for 2 years now, and there was more teaching in their shoot around about basic defensive principles, rotations. They lost 6 of their top 9 guys from last year, and I think even the guys that do return, Xavier Johnson only played 9 games. And Trey Galloway was a good role player, but a role player, and his role is different now. And Malik Renew has a new role.
Yeah.
On top of that, with Galloway and Xavier Johnson, they're going to be tasked with leading the team, which was clearly Race and Trace last year. So you've got that going there as well. And then, I think Mike Woodson is going to have to really mix and match, and their roster is interesting. I will say kel'el Ware was engaged last night. He affected the game in a big way. He had a double-double.
For those that didn't know, for those that don't know, let me just kind of recap. They were down with about 10 minutes left in the second half. Their offense looked atrocious in the first half.
Yeah, offensively, they don't have an identity yet. They are at times you're like, what is the purpose?
They ended up beating Florida Gulf Coast. They did.
Yes. Without Isaiah Thompson, who is their best player.
Right. My biggest thing watching that game was I thought putting Gabe Cupps in there for Mackenzie Mbako was the game changer.
Yeah, I mean, he changed the game with his defensive pressure, and Indiana ramped it up as a unit too. I mean, they started the drives to the paint for a while for Florida Gulf Coast were just, I mean, they were getting whatever they wanted. And Indiana, I feel like they have a little bit of that NBA mentality from a help defense perspective of like be at the nail, which in the NBA is one thing. But at the college level, like some of these, there's not even action. Right. The ball is coming towards you, and you've got Malik Renew trying to guard a shooter. He's just not close enough to the shooter. That happened like 4 times. Chase Johnston is Florida Gulf Coast probably best pure shooter. Maybe it's Isaiah Thompson, but probably Chase Johnston. And they got lucky like 4 or 5 times where they just weren't guarding him. I mean, they were treating him like he was a non-shooter. So I think on both ends, they've got a long ways to go. They're really athletic. They need to get out and push the tempo. I think they need to get out and pressure. That's how they can impact and help their offense is forcing some turnovers, making teams uncomfortable. And for a long time, they did not dictate anything defensively. But when they came back, they were dictating what Florida Gulf Coast was doing. So
they moved the ball. When they went through that stretch too, Cupps turned it with his intensity defensively. And then they started actually moving the ball and getting it deep to Reneau.
They got Reneau when Xavier Johnson plays. They got Florida Gulf Coast into some rotations for so long. It was like there's just nothing, a lot of standing, a lot of watching. They're clearly trying to figure it out, and they're going to get better. They have so many new pieces. Peyton Sparks didn't play. Not that he could have helped, but that's not like a game changing. He's not going to start for them. He'll come off the bench. I do have a good story though from the game last night. So usually there's a room at Assembly Hall that we can use to use the bathroom, but last night for some reason it was being used by something else. And it's not normally a problem, but there's not many bathrooms in the floor level of Assembly Hall. And across from the announcer's table, there is a single toilet that's in this, but like anyone can use it. So there's a line. So there's like 7 minutes to go before the game, and I'm waiting in line for the bathroom. I finally get in there and I'm like, I gotta hurry. So I use the bathroom and I get done and I'm walking out, and there's an Indiana fan that's kind of like standing. He's waiting to come in. Yeah. So it's not like he's doing anything wrong, but he's standing in the door. So I kind of tried to slide through, and somehow I caught my back pocket on like the clip where the lock would go in, and I ripped my pants.
Ripped it.
My back pocket is like totally ripped out of my dress pants. So I'm like, oh my God. And I didn't know how bad it was. I was afraid it might be like all the way. It sounded awful, but luckily my coat was covering it. And then I'm like, I got to stand up and do an interview, and people are going to think my pants are ripped. And it was terrible. It was truly.
Nobody said anything though.
Only the stage manager, but I was like, I think I just ripped my pants. She goes, yeah, I can see that's hanging off. It's hanging down off the back.
So you lost the suit out of this deal last night?
I hope that I can maybe patch the pocket, but that looks pretty jank, probably. I'm going to see if I can salvage this. But
the good thing is you're making big bucks now.
Yeah, big bucks.
So I think you're all right. I was gonna tweet something, but I didn't know how you take it. I was gonna tweet last night that I can't believe Indiana fans and students. How can you let Robbie Hummel come into Bloomington and can we slash his tires or something like
the first game I ever did in Indiana? It was Northwestern IU. Romeo Langford hit like a game-winning floater. It was a good game. But I'd never been there as an announcer, and I was sitting at the table, just like reading over stuff. I was calling the game with Brandon Gaudin, and this older gentleman who was, I bet he was 75, came up and like I was reading my sheets. I was just holding like something like this and like looking at it, reading over it, and this guy tapped me on the shoulder, and he's like, "They're letting you call the game?" like couldn't believe it. I'm like, yeah, I'm here to call the game, and he goes, "It's a tragedy that they would let you call it game." And he was dead ass serious. And I thought he was maybe kidding.
Right.
It's like, who says that to somebody, you know? Like, and I get the rivalry. I understand. I get it. And I was like, well, I didn't know what to say. So I was just kind of said, well, I'm just here to do my job, like something lame that someone that's never been approached like this before would say. And he points to the top of Assembly Hall and goes, "They should make you call the game from up there." But you know what? It wouldn't be a good rivalry if he was like, "Welcome to Assembly Hall." Like
totally.
that's not a rivalry. Even if this dude was 75 years old and I was 29, it's a hilarious story. It's pretty.
I feel like it's different now too. Like kids, I mean, a lot of students, honestly, they don't remember you even playing for Purdue. They don't. It was.
Well, tell that to the student last night that was yelling obscenities at me and then talking about Fairleigh Dickinson.
Really?
Tell that to that kid, huh?
All right.
He remembered, or he knew.
Yeah, no, there's a bunch that
I'm getting to the point where I'm old. I'm old.
Yeah, no doubt.
It must suck to be like you because you're really old.
I am really old. I'm really fucking old. Was there anything? I'm going out there this weekend. Before Champions Classic, I must see. They play Army.
I'll be there.
Huh?
I'll be back.
Are you going for that? Are you doing that game?
Yeah.
You doing the Army game?
Yeah.
With who?
I think Matt Schumacher again. We're running the crew back.
You should go. There's a big volleyball game at 1:00 if you want to come with me and Talia. Big volleyball game.
Jeff, you go to shoot around.
What do
you do things when you call the game. You don't just go to volleyball games the day of the game.
Why not? You just went to shoot around the other day. How much has changed?
Because I have principles. I'll talk to Coach Woodson about what he's done the last couple of days.
All right. That's fair.
That's a valid question. The offense didn't look like it was flowing all that well. How can that change?
Very valid. Very valid. I'd love to know his answer on that one. Maybe bring in more shooters. That would help.
That's the thing, is that floor is going to be. And you know what? You know who played well last night was Trey Galloway. He led him in scoring. But I'm curious, as his volume of shots goes up and maybe the shot quality goes a little bit down because you don't have Puchafino and you don't have Trace who facilitate, what happens to his percentage? I think he took 2 last night and made 1. It wasn't high volume again, but he's just a good player. He's a good basketball player.
He's a great like 5th guy to have on the
totally.
But Xavier Johnson is gonna need to be a little bit more assertive. Probably he's going to need to make shots.
He hasn't looked necessarily comfortable doing that, though.
Right.
And not that he can't do it, because I've seen him score.
I wonder if
he's done that with other guys around him who were this first option, second option. And it's just like it. But I didn't feel like their offense was generating anything for anyone, really. It just.
He's trying to be a point guard.
That's why, to me, transition is their friend. Any made or missed shot, I just think they got to get it and let him use his speed and try to find and steal some buckets.
Yeah, because even their bigs, and they've got kind of 3 of them, I still think Mbako is a 4. But whatever the case, he can go. Kel'el Ware can go.
Yeah,
Renew can go. Like all those guys are athletic bigs.
And I think they are pretty high on the Sparks kid from Ball State. They like.
I mean, he put up numbers.
Yeah. No, he did. They like him, and he's big and apparently more athletic than he was last year. So